Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so we are just going to start it. And thank you for participating during the morning session. And during our mid session, we thought that we can start something fun and just like a game. So many of you are probably used Kahoot too many times that is kind of like died out already. So we are trying to go to do something new. So it's called Blue Kit. Some of you may have experienced using this with your students before. So later I'm going to copy the link for you to join. You don't have to have an account. You can just copy the link and it will take you there. And you don't need to enter your name or anything. I will set it up randomly. Okay, so here is how it looks like. Sorry, let me get this. Okay, so there are 8 questions, and we are going to do battle mode. So it will be a one-on-one game if it start working. Come on. Alrighty, it's right here. Post and time. Let's do time. 5 minutes. It's enough. And using random name. Allow late join. Post now. Alright, so everybody feel free to join us. There's no people. Are you guys able to join? Okay, got people. How many people do we have here? I think it's about right. Anybody? All right. So we're gonna start. I choose time. That's right. Okay, this is a different mode that I played before, so I'm not familiar with this one. I used to play the time one. The Dutch Pearl Slinger. Oh, Dragon Smith. Nice. We got 3.5 minutes left. So it's just a review of all what we talked about earlier. I think there's only 8 questions, so Not sure you guys are getting the review. Okay, so maybe I can just stop here now. All right. Okay, so this is just a fun, quick review, and this is a brand new, sorry, not brand new, but this is like a new mode that I play. So sorry, I mixed it up a little bit. Okay, so next part, David.
Yeah, if you want to stop sharing your screen. Sia, maybe. And David, do you want to introduce this part or do you want me to?
David, you're on mute.
There we go. So for the next part, which is kind of the main part of this second session, is breakout discussions, and each advisor is going to be handling sort of focused on the theme of what was presented in the first session. So Deja is going to be talking about challenges with CLIL in Taiwan and your experiences facing and or overcoming them. Sia will talk about sharing our experiences of co-teaching. Which models of co-teaching did you encounter? What worked and what didn't? And in my section, I'll be asking you what successes did you notice in the video clips and what successes have you had in your own classrooms? So because in the first session, essentially we three lectured at you, we're hoping that in this second session, it can be more focused on you sharing your experiences and talking about what happened in your experiences and what you're hoping for the upcoming school year. So we'll do about 10 minutes per session, and then we'll switch. We advisors will move from room to room, so you all don't have to do anything, and hopefully we can get it going without a hitch. So if Sonia is ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
Then let's break into our groups.
Okay, ready, go.
Okay, I think everybody's back. Let's see, I'm going to share this. Okay. Okay, so just to kind of review what we talked about in the last three groups and in general, introduce kind of the context of CLIL in Taiwan, the reason that it's being presented, the government perspective. Things have gotten a bit wonky with COVID, and that's certainly something that was unexpected. So who knows how this 2030 plan might be affected. But in general, the government has a plan, bilingual by 2030. And CLIL is kind of the avenue that they are exploring ways to do that, with the emphasis on increasing the amount of language exposure students get throughout the school day without having to get rid of other classes and replacing them with English classes. So you talked about challenges with CLIL in Taiwan. You talked about co-teaching models and then ways that you can work with your teachers, and talked about successes and things that you can do to support your students' CLIL classes being successful in your context. One of the things that I tried to emphasize in all the groups was that once you're actually in your schools, once you meet your students, once you meet your co-teachers and faculty and staff and get a better understanding of what's happening at your school specifically, that's when we advisors can be of most value to you. Once we get a better idea of what you're working with, then we can help brainstorm ways for you to be successful. At this point, it's just general. We're just making guesses. So definitely keep in touch about your context so we can be most useful to you once you're out in the field. The last thing that we'll do is a wrap up sharing. We'll do this in the chat box. If you want to share one thing that came up today in any context in the morning, in the afternoon, in discussion, something that you just thought about, share one thing that came up today that you would like to implement in your classroom this year. So something to kind of end on a positive note, something that you want to try, something you want to keep in mind, something that you are interested in exploring, and share that with us in the chat box, please. So many sounds going on outside. What's one thing you want to try this year? Jimmy says, focus more on functional language in my science-focused language class. Don't sweat the really deep vocab that students will not use as much. Definitely something that I talked about in my groups and something that I strongly support. Emphasize the commonly used language, the functional language, language for use, because that's something that I think that students don't have nearly enough exposure to or opportunities to use. Instead, a lot of emphasis is put on, so I used to teach university students, international students in the US, and these students from, China, Taiwan, Japan, wherever, would have huge vocabularies, but they were not able to express them, right? But if I gave them a test on their vocabulary, they could do very well. And that's something that that's kind of a cycle that we're trying to break. Because I also work with students from other countries who didn't have as high a vocabulary, but they were really solid in the use of the language that they did have. So yeah, helping students use language for function, for purpose. Any other things? I can only see one thing that you want to share. Hopefully everybody can share something. Something that you want to try this year based on anything you saw today or heard or said. Okay, so a comment is that, and I won't read them all if you guys write more, so don't worry about that. But making sure that there's enough time for co-planning with co-teachers to make sure that CLIL lessons are effective. This is definitely something that you want to push for. It can definitely be difficult, especially if you're working with substitute teachers, part-time teachers, teachers who also have admin responsibilities. But if you're not able to plan effectively with your co-teachers or whatever your setup is, it can definitely make the lessons less strong. And if you have any trouble with communication in your school, that's definitely something that you should reach out to your coordinators or reach out to us about how we might be able to mediate more effective communication between you and your school and your teachers. Incorporating students' interests, 100%. And again, I really feel like how you teach is more important than what you teach. A lot of local teachers say, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. I think that usually that's an excuse. You can usually find ways, if you're willing to put in some effort and be creative, to connect with students' interests, and that also entails getting to know them, which is something that you certainly should do. Get to know your students and then find ways that you can incorporate their interests. Create real life scenarios, 100%. Just get out there and do it for sure. CLIL projects and non-English classes. So I think that anything that we talk about in a CLIL context when we're speaking about how to do CLIL is relevant to anybody who's not teaching in CLIL also, because the more content that you can present in your lessons, the more interesting. You're just hanging your hat on something real. The more interesting, related to life, and it can make it less dry than the linguistics class that they tend to be focused on. So if you have any other ideas, make sure and share those here using easy comprehensible images and videos for sure. But thank you all for sharing. Our time is about up. We're going until 11:20 today. So thank you all for being here with us. Thank you all for sharing in your small groups. And thank you for being here with us, since you know we're dealing with a lot still with COVID. We're extremely excited that you're all here physically in Taiwan, can get into the schools when schools started. So we're really excited for you to get out there, and that's really when we can do, you know, our real work, you know, once that gets going. So we're pretty excited. Hopefully you're excited as well. Keep working on your video projects, and we'll be helping you with those. And we'll see you tomorrow for an online teaching workshop. All right, see you guys next time.